Okay, I'm gonna get started. All right, hello and welcome to stream. Um, my name is Eric. I am it's my channel. I'm the host, and yeah, I will be editing. So today we are gonna do some photo editing. I was on a shoot in Maymont, Richmond, Virginia, with a wonderful collection of photographers and models, and so I'm gonna be trying to go through the photos I took there and kind of editing them and getting the best ones ready for release. So yeah, that's the plan. Um, as a primer to this, I'm a professional photographer and cinematographer. I have been shooting and editing films and films and photography, doing both for the past 7 years, film for the past 15. And I feel like the reason I do this is I feel like editing in a lot of ways, both film and photo, is kind of kept behind a curtain. A lot of it um, tends to kind of be gate kept, and a lot of editors will have no problem, or photographers will have no problem telling you about, oh, here's the camera I use, here's the location I use, here's the angle I got, and here's why my composition works the way it does. But they leave out the post production process, which is a huge component. The amount of power you have in editing um, really it can't be overstated, and it is weird to me how protective um, a lot of the industry is with the post production process because it is such an essential component. So I try to do what I can to pull the curtain back on that and to share my insights and my process. Which, if you're watching, if you're a photographer and I do a different process to you, that's fantastic. Like, please feel free to chat and share what you do versus me. I know I lean heavily on the texture, clarity, and dehaze sliders more than most probably, but what can I say? But yeah, and if you don't have a process and you wanna ask questions, you wanna share have questions about things that you can do, please absolutely feel free to join in on that level. Okay, well I'm gonna put my face in the bottom corner of the screen and gonna get started in Lightroom here. Uh, gonna really quickly, let's see. Sorry, chatting with a photographer here. Let me quickly start a timer so I know I'm not doing this for too long. There we go. Cool. All right, we got about an hour. Here we go. So, I guess I could start with this photo. This photo really doesn't need much as far as I can tell right now. Hang on. Yeah, a lot of the time in photography, I mean, one of the things you get is that you're like one of the like first steps of if you're switching over to like aiming higher in professional photography is start shooting raw with your camera. Um, Shooting in a it's a much higher much bigger file size, much higher, not higher resolution necessarily, but higher bit depth and a lot higher, a lot more information in there, so you can do a lot more with it. Um, and I can give you an example. I mean, yeah, here if I look at this picture, um, this is one that I did. This is here we go. There's the original. There's the current finished version. I also did a black and white version, which same thing, original and because I can do a lot of color shifting, I can do a lot of adjusting with this, and it's still like this one still looks just as good, just as the definition. This has actually been softened a little bit because skin tones, but like yeah, just it looks just as good, and you can even with all these changes I made, like it actually looks less noisy there than it does here. So so shooting raw is important. So usually when you come out of a photo shoot, you're like, all right, this picture at least needs something because raw photos tend to look a little bit rough, but this actually looks pretty good. Let's take a look. All right, so I've cropped it. I'm gonna crop a little bit higher. I want to get that little bit of, I want to get her hair at the top of the shot. Um, Honestly, I think of all the things I go back and forth on the most in editing, cropping is kind of the biggest thing. Um, Excuse me. I spend so much time adjusting the crop and coming back to the crop and adjusting it again and coming back to it again and adjusting it again and so on and so forth. It just, yeah. So, anyway, so obviously we like the shot because of the rainbow. The rainbow leading to right to her shoulder. and almost lean to her dress, which kind of explodes in color there. Maybe I'll lean into that. That could be kind of fun. All right, so the first thing I try to do is, and this is, I said I lean on the texture, clarity, and dehaze sliders. The first thing I try to do is I try to I kind of rack them back and forth just to see kind of the range of what I can do with them. Um, Texture, clarity, and dehaze, and more dehaze and clarity more than anything else, really do the most to an image. I mean, obviously, darken the blacks and stuff, but you're not adjusting as much as you are when you adjust these three. So I start with these three to kind of figure out the parameters of the edit and what this photo can do. And I mean, going all the way to here, yeah, it doesn't look great, and you're gonna start getting noise in places. But if you go the other direction, go brighter, well, now you're overexposing like hell. Um, so yeah, honestly, the exposure on this photo is pretty good. Looking at the histogram up here, pretty much even across the board. We're leaning a little more into the darker than the lighter, but not in a bad way. I think that's kind of why I'm looking at this and being like, oh, the exposure's in pretty good shape. Um, but gotcha. So let's see, where do I want to start with this? Let me start with. I've been doing this lately. I've been kind of leaning into the new masks and the AI assisted masks where you can select the subject. They've been pretty fantastic. There we go. Look at that. Pretty much selects her perfectly. And actually, it selects for hair, which is insane. I absolutely love that. All right, cool. So we're going to take that and we're going to invert it because that's important. What am I getting Snapchat notifications about? Ah. All right, so we're going to invert that. Um, And usually what I would do is if I want to separate her from the background, I usually will kind of bring the texture slider, sometimes the clarity slider down too to really kind of give us that haze. I'm gonna do that on this one, but not yet. I'm gonna start with adding the brush, and I'm going to. Oh, no, I don't want to. I don't want to subtract. What am I doing? Brush. Uh, Delete that brush. Subtract brush. I'm probably gonna do two different versions of this. I'm gonna start with this one with the brush, and I'm gonna subtract the tree, because the tree is close to us. I don't want to make sure that it's I want to make sure that I don't lose. If you kind of want to find that middle ground between, or that balance between, is this does this photo look the right level of edited in a way? Is it without going overboard? Sometimes going overboard is a ton of fun. Honestly, overkill is underrated a lot of the time. But right now, all right, I'm gonna undo that last move because I went a little too far. There we go. Right now, what I want to do is I want to make sure that like the background, like the stuff way in the back uh, is all that's affected. The tree should be close enough that it's not. I'm just trying to get a little bit of that edge there. Cool. So that looks like that. All right. So now I can bring the texture down. I can bring the clarity down, and we now get it ends up softening this whole edge. We get a little bit more of that light gets a little softer. The background gets done like that, and I can also debate taking the saturation down. I do like the Sin City look. Part of me also likes I like how, as I pull it up, the rainbow kind of comes through. I think we're gonna leave that on. I think this picture is gonna be a pretty high saturation picture. I don't think I'm gonna do anything too crazy with it. Okay, done. So that's the first step. Next thing I want to try to do is I want to see if I can bring up that rainbow. Let me play with my highlights and stuff a little bit. The highlights are just brightening her face. See, that's a pretty decent effect. It's not everything, but just in the highlights. And I bring them down a bit. I'm gonna do a little bit more to brighten her face. But if I bring them down a little bit, okay, a lot. You bring them down 74%. You get a little more of the rainbow coming through, kind of right here under skin. You see a little bit of that right there, which I'm going to lean into. And also, you bring out some definition in her face, and that's the thing I talk about, or a lot of people talk about, where like, is it better to overexpose or underexpose? And a lot of the wisdom is it's better to underexpose because you can always brighten, but if you get it too bright, you lose detail. I found that to be less true. I find it to be it's a little bit better to overexpose and then pull it back because then you've got, assuming you haven't super overexposed. If you really overdo it, um, and you end up with a shot that looks wrong one, if I dehaze. You end up with a shot that looks kind of like like this, and your histogram is way up here, all the way over in the brights and whites. Um, then yeah, you are at some point are losing information because it's just processed. It's just white and no data. But if you don't, that's a higher threshold to hit than a lot of people think. And if you don't hit that threshold, I'm tilting. I don't know why. And if you don't hit that threshold, you've got a lot more. Not when you pull it back. Not only do you still have all the detail, you have a lot more color you can work with because white has everything in it. Whereas black, if you brighten it up and then want to add color, you tend to be, yeah, you tend to be adding like having to artificially add it or adding a lot of noise. Hold for lemonade. Delicious. Okay, so now, yeah, by bringing those highlights down, we've taken kind of this overexposed spot where you kind of can't tell. Yeah, we got kind of a line, but we lose the line between your face and her hair, and now we've got it back, which is great. All right, and we are going to do some stuff. Her face is going to be something I'm going to edit at the end of this, because I want to brighten that up and give her a little more color here. But next thing I want to do, I don't usually lean into saturation and vibrance because across the board they tend to not quite really do what I want them to do. That's interesting. I'm not keeping this, but that's interesting that it just uh the rainbow kind of stops the saturation from coming up to there, but it really does everything above it. That's really interesting. If I do the vibrance, same thing. The rainbow kind of stops it. Also because this is overexposed. That's a spot that's overexposed. If I was to bring down my whites, like, yeah, you'll see if we work on this area here, you're gonna notice that this is overexposed. This is the I got that little white line right at the end of the histogram up there. That's this area. There's too much white there. There's not enough information. That's not a bad thing in this photo. I don't think it's hurting us because the rainbow is going to be there. But that's the difference between. I put the highlights back for a second. The difference between this and this is that this is overexposed enough that I can bring it down and keep it. This is too much. And if it's at some point you hit that threshold and you try to bring the whites down, all you're going to do is bring down. You're going to go from just a spot of just pure white to a spot of pure gray. You're not going to actually get the definition of the stuff that's under the white. But we can live with it. Okay, let's move on. Um, let's go down. So yeah, I don't tend to use saturation and vibrance. I tend to lean more into the individual color sliders because I get a lot more control that way. All right. So we got some aqua in there. We're gonna bring up the blues. That might be a thing I have to do kind of individually, but we'll work on that. I might have to clean those up. Let's see if I bring up the yellows. Now that's affecting a lot. That's giving me the ground. That's giving me the tree. It's giving me a lot of stuff. I bring up the oranges though, and I'm getting her face. So we're gonna work on that. Bring up the greens. Yeah, bring up the greens in that little rainbow there. Reds. Reds are her face. We're gonna do that individually. So we're gonna bring up the yellows. I think my biggest challenge here is going to be separating the tree from the rainbow. That's going to be my biggest challenge. All right, yeah, that's not doing much for the rainbow. We're going to leave the oranges where they are. I'm going to come down here to our Luminance Sliders, which I actually like using. They're one of the surprise, kind of, for me at least, one of like the hidden tools uh, on Lightroom, but because you can just brighten up those specific colors. Ooh, there we brighten up the blues, we brighten up the dress, we brighten up the aquas. Now we're brightening up that. That helps a little bit. Brighten up the yellows. Yeah, that's pulling that rainbow out a bit. Almost overexposing her face again, but not too bad. We're gonna have to work on the background here, but that's why we selected it. All right. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the yellow hue adjustment. I'm gonna try to bring that a little more toward orange. Kind of give this photo a little bit of a look. If I go too, actually that's not. Hmm. See, now I'm stuck between the choice of do I select for the rainbow and try to get that, or do I select for her hair? I think I can do both. I think I'm gonna let this go a little bit. I'm trying to find getting a little bit of fringing there, but not too much. I think I'm okay with it. Plus, we still got still a lot to do with that background. So, okay, color-wise, I'm decently happy with that right now. I don't hate that. I think that's got something I can work with. I'm gonna play with my sliders a little bit just to see what that. Nope, neither of those are doing me any good. I lean toward purple, lean toward green. Nah, we're gonna play with what we got. And now you've noticed our histogram. We've taken the brights down, so everything's kind of lowered out, but it's still good and even across the board, and I'm happy about that. All right, let's start doing some selective masking. Now that we've got the photo kind of in a spot that I like, we're going to start doing some selective masking. I'm going to start with the original mask that we had, and actually I'm gonna create a new mask with the brush. And I'm just going to kind of go around. I'm going to grab just the specific areas, and I just want a regular color overlay because I want to see these spots. Just these areas here that are sort of overdoing themselves. Stuff down here. So I can get in and get that spot, these spots right here. Let's get that guy. Let's get this one. Clean that up. And mostly, more than clean up the exact spots, mostly just looking at the edges and how like they got that rough edge on them. I want to try to fix that. So let's bring the contrast. Nah, let's leave that where it is. Let's see. It's gonna take to get that down. And saturation down helps. Texture down helps even more. If I take the clarity down, that's gonna blur everything out. That's pretty good. Let's put the saturation back up. Nope, saturation's part of the problem. We're gonna go like that. If I dehaze it, it goes to white. If I overdo it, it goes there. Let's see. Is there a middle ground? I do tend to min-max. I've noticed that. All right. Honestly, taking them to white doesn't look too bad. It makes it look like just pops of something going on back there. But it means I need to kind of play with this blue here. So let's extend this a little bit. Just connect them there. There we go. I don't like that as much. Something going on there. All right, let's put the saturation. Next question is, can I soften them out in a way that I like? Push them toward green, not bad up top, but it doesn't really work at the bottom. I have to do 2 different masks for this. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Okay, we're gonna subtract the brush. We're gonna subtract this stuff. Let me see it on black and white. And remove all that. We're gonna stick just with the ones up top, and then we're gonna work on the next ones. So these, yeah, we can push toward yellow, and push toward green. There we go. Go toward yellow, it's a bit much. I want to bring them down so they look like they sort of belong there. That's kind of where I'm going for, what I'm looking for here. If I bring the shadows down, if I bring the blacks down, I'm going to end up with just black spots, which again gives me the same problem I had. The highlights down a little bit. It's not bad. Let's come in here. Where's my? I've still got the subtract brush on, so we're going to just go up to here to the feathering. I'm going to take the feathering all the way up, and I'm just going to sort of gently kind of coast around the edge of these guys. Just try to soften up a little bit. Try to get them off the hair. See that overlay. There we go. Rid of the middle. Turn the overlay off. Yeah. Zoom back out. Yeah, I can live with that. It's in the background. It's not distracting me that much. Cool. All right, so we're going to create a new mask with a brush. Overlay on black and white. Bring that feathering back to 50%. And we're going to get this area here. Because this area here is spill off from the rainbow. And so that's an easier fix. That's just, yeah, saturation and clarity. And we're all good. All right, so that's looking good. Next thing, done. All right, come back. New mask. Select our subject. Excuse me. And it's going to select her again. Same kind of way it did before. There we go. Looking good. All right, and now we're going to, let's see, what I want to select for this time is the tree. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an add with a brush. We'll do the same thing we just did. We're going to select all of this. Everything that's not the tree. Select all that. We're going to zoom in here. Go all the way up to the edge. I'm going to make my brush a little bigger so I can get a little more feathering. There we go. Bring it back. That might be a problem. It's part of the rainbow, so we're probably okay. Cool. Now that we've selected that, the other thing I need to do is I need to try to get the rainbow. So that's going to be this right here. I'm just kind of freehanding it. There we go. That's actually pretty good. I'm impressed that I did that as well as I did. All right. So now that we've got that all selected, should be able to. Did I do this backwards? I think I might have done this backwards again. Yeah, I did this backwards. Okay. We're going to invert. Let's see, black and white. Yeah, that's a problem. Okay. There's a way to do this. I always forget. All right, we're going to delete that brush. We're going to see what we got. Okay, so we inverted that. Cool. So now we've got the whole background selected. Now we're going to subtract the stuff we don't want. Kind of the same thing we did before. Okay. And this is not about texture so much, it's about color. We are going to do a little bit of texture reduction, but not much. This is more about controlling the color of the tree and making sure that rainbow can stand out. And you'll notice this is on a photo that I was happy with. I was happy with how this photo looked, and now I'm doing all this extra work on it. So you can get lost doing it. I'm kind of a perfectionist about it, so I kind of lean into it that way. But that's the color overlay again. And now I want to try to, once again, subtract the rainbow. Go a little more because there's some blue down there I want to get. There we go. A little bit more. And you can always add more. Yeah, do more here. Cool. I'm going to up the feathering and do one more pass on that because I do want it to not feel like it's a specific cutout. You know, it's that art of finding the blend. Okay, so now our tree is selected. First I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring the texture down a little bit, not much, just kind of halfway, just to make her stand out a little bit more from it. And then color-wise, I could desaturate it, but if I desaturate it, oh, it actually looks good. Wasn't expecting that. Does look good. Might do that, but also might go with the temperature. Nah, that's leaning too much into the blues. This is gonna, that's not gonna work. All right, if I go to the greens, it pulls it up too much. If I go to the purples, honestly, that balances it in a kind of cool way. It gives it it adds it stops kind of being realistic and it kind of adds a little bit of a different color to it. I don't hate that. I really don't. So there's that. That's one option. The other option is just to desaturate, which looks like that. That's the more natural option. I'm probably going to lean into that because if I start leaning into the bright colors, if the photo starts looking unrealistic, then the rainbow starts feeling like it's been photoshopped in, as opposed to being a bright and magnificent element in an otherwise conventionally good but otherwise normal true to life looking photo. So we're gonna go with this time. Though I do really like how that tree looked with the purple tint on. I might do something else with that in a later photo. Real quick, set the rating of this, bring the rating of this photo up to 1. Is that off? Different photo. Let's see. My ratings. Set rating to 1. There we go. There we go. Cool. Did that. Okay. So now we've taken the tree, we brought the saturation down. That's cool. I'm gonna bring the blacks down a little bit on it. Not that that's doing a thing. Wow, that tree is just nothing but brightness. Oh, because I'm not clicking on anything. That's why. Bring the blacks down to nothing. There we go. Bring the blacks down on the tree a little bit. I'm gonna do a little more of that once I get to once I have everything kind of done. I'm do a little more polish. Let's keep the blacks up. Let's bring the shadows down. Less intense. Cool. All right, we need probably need two more masks for this. So we're gonna start with this one that's just the rainbow. Let me see the overlay. Let me do it on black and white. Hang on a sec. I gotta. You may have noticed the sun's kind of doing some stuff. Give me 1 second. Okay, that's better. Cool. Now I can actually see my screen. All right. My flow is really down. I do not know why. Let's fix that. Okay. Probably had something to do with the way I was just clicking. All right. Give me the color overlay. That's better. All right. So we're gonna come all the way across here. Get the rainbow right down to there. Cool. So now we've got the rainbow selected. I'm gonna get this little area down here. Doesn't have to be perfect. That's why we have this feather. That's why we're feathering. Just give you that little bit. Okay, cool. And I may have to erase the stuff that's on her, but for now, Everything else, I want to lean into the saturation on this one. Just a fine adjustment on the hue, because I might try to, yeah, if I start adjusting the hue a little bit. More toward green, we can go more toward a red. A little bit like that, just a tiny adjustment. Again, trying to have a balance between what looks natural, like it's really there, and what doesn't. Okay. So I kind of like that. Let's see what I can do with some brightness. I can up the texture up, but that doesn't really do anything. You kind of want to lean into the magic of it. Same thing with the clarity. If I up the clarity, this is gonna end up looking kind of harsh. Yeah, look, that looks fake. That also looks fake. We're gonna leave it in the middle. Dehazing will darken but bring up the colors, which I don't dislike, but I think it's the wrong choice here. Brightening it up that way looks good. I'm gonna do that with the highlights though. I'm gonna bring up some highlights here. Bring up some shadows. Yeah, little bits of color popping up there. Cool. All right. Now, we're gonna work on her. We're almost done with her. We're almost done. We gotta work on her a bit. First off, we notice. Let's see. Okay, new mask. Let's see. Give me a brush. We're gonna start with this. First thing we notice is that this area here on her neck has got some weird, because of the color stuff we've done, has got some weird color fringing. So we're gonna soften that up. Kind of collect this whole area. Yep. Cool. So step one, texture down. Yeah, I want to try to bring some of this stuff down. Let's turn that off. Real quick phone check. Ah, tabletop gaming group having fun. Let's bring the clarity down. Might be the next best option. Might have to dehaze a little bit. That's too much. That's way too obvious. So bring the blacks up. Let's bring the shadows up. In some ways, I'm trying to reduce the contrast so that we kind of get rid of that weird color adjustment there. Change the saturation doesn't do us any good. Adjust the sharpness, which really sharpness on here I've found to be a very kind of not the most powerful tool compared to some of the other stuff that's on here. That's a start. I'm going to go back to this mask. I'm going to add a subtract brush. And this time I am going to bring the flow down. Bring the flow down to about 20%. And we're just going to try to clean this up a little bit. Partner's getting phone calls. Let me see the overlay. I'm going to flow up a little more because I really want to get a lot more of this out of here. There we go. Overlay off. Don't want to move it, just want to keep adjusting it. Something working there. I'm still going to have to keep playing with this one. All right, let's see the overlay real quick. Zoom in. That's that flow. If I need to bring it back, I will. Yeah, you can see how we've got how much texturing we have back there. We're gonna work on that. Yeah, let's get this all off of here. That area there doesn't matter as much because it's mostly just whites. Okay. Let's go back to this mask. Let me turn this mask off and see what it looks like. Yeah, guys, the overlay's not helping. Okay. Brighten it up. Yeah, I don't hate the dehazing there. All right, I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going to, using a subtract brush, with a very high feather and a very low flow, I'm going to start sort of cleaning this this up a bit. Just try to make it look like less like it's, make it look a little more natural. That it kind of like it's almost like the sunlight fell on her that way. Okay, go with that for now. That doesn't look too bad. Still not a fan of the weird fringing I'm getting over here. I might have to do some more with that. What we're going to do is we're going to take this mask. We're going to duplicate it. There we go. We're going to bring the whites down. We're going to stop the dehazing. Actually, we're going to delete this mask. We're going to make our own. Create new mask. New brush. And literally just want to work on this area back here, because that is noisy. The flow is way too low, so let's bring that up again. Just this area here. Cool. All right. Reduce the texture. Reduce the clarity. Reduce the noise. Done. Getting there. Slowly getting there. Go here. Let's bring that noise down as well. Pretty much anything I can do to soften those edges. Cool. All right. Next thing. We're getting there. We are getting there. It's starting to look good. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to do a new mask with, this one actually can be a circle. It's going to be a radial gradient. We're going to go on her face. And I don't do this for every photo. This is kind of just the one I like. For ones I really like, I want to play with them a bit. And I also want to, this is a good photo for me to warm up with, because this is the first one I'm editing. And this is also why editing takes as long as it does, because this is what we do. Okay, so we got that. We got her face there. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to add a brush. And I want to catch everything else down here. Cool. So we got her face and we got her skin as far as we go until we hit the white. All right. So first thing we're gonna bring up the highlights a little bit. There we go. That makes that a much nicer line. It makes her stand out a little more. I'm gonna bring the blacks down just a touch, just to get a little bit more definition there, because if you go too far with the whites, you can end up kind of overdoing it. I'm gonna bring the texture down a little bit because it kind of leans into that hazy look, and we like that. We do love that in photos. Good, there's some light in her eyes. We're gonna make use of that. But yeah, not enough to take away the texture of her skin, but enough to kind of soften all the little details. That looks really good, actually. We're gonna keep that. All right. New masks. This is actually a lot. This is more masks than I really ever use, so it's kind of. I feel like now I'm really like unintentionally showing off. All right, this mask is gonna be just this light in her eyes, so we're gonna go real small. We're just gonna grab that, move over. We're gonna get this one. This is called catch light, and it's a very underestimated thing. People underestimate how powerful that is in terms of making someone look alive. All right, we're just gonna bring up the highlights. We're gonna bring up the whites. There we go. Brighten this up as much as I can. Bring up the clarity. That brings up a little more. Kind of helps them stand out. Occasionally, I'll bring up the exposure to just really brighten it up. That looks like too much here. So if I hit done and pull back, there we go. That tiny little bit of detail, those tiny little brushes, now we got some light in her eyes. Now she looks a lot more alive, which is great. Um, okay, I think with this photo, I've only got one last thing to do. Actually, I gotta check something. Where's that? Not there. It's there. It's there. Because we up the saturation. Subtract brush. I want to get rid of this stuff happening up here, because that looks like too much. Show the overlay. Yeah, this is too much up here. Let's get rid of all that. Gonna get to there. Let's see. Back with that brush, let's just clear out this stuff up here, but not and kind of. There we go. That looks better. No, damn, I take it back. I think I went too far. Never mind. That was fine. So we got one more mask to make, and we're going to select subject. I cannot get over how good these AI assisted masks are. And then we're going to subtract with a brush. And we are getting rid of everything. Let's bring that feathering back down to 50%. Getting rid of all this. At the face, now we're going to finish up by working on the hair. Because when you have a model with striking red hair, you lean into it. That's what we're going to do. Cool. So if I do color black and white, there we go. Now I can really see what spots I missed. Missed some spots down here. Missed a couple spots on the tree and the neck. Missed a spot on there. But now it's just, yeah, pretty much just the hair. Sweet. Okay, so now we're going to start leaning into color. There we go. Push up some orange, some yellows. That looks damn good. Bring the highlights down just a touch so we don't lose the definition. Actually, bring the highlights all the way down. That's why it's different between highlights and whites, whereas whites will do a huge amount of difference. Ooh, there we go. Now we're leaning into poison ivy territory. Um, highlights will just kind of bring down the brightest parts and kind of in a softer way. It's like kids and parents. All right. Clarity up. Clarity. Ooh, we go either direction. That kind of gives it a soften. That makes it look like look like an effect. This makes it look a little too much. I'm gonna kind of give it a little clarity. It makes it more distinct from her face. And if we overdid the texturing on her face so that her face ended up looking too softened by upping the hair around it, it kind of counteracts that effect. Dehazing, we could overdo again. Now we're looking like poison ivy, and now we've gone the complete opposite direction. We've gone to storm. So let's keep it where it was. Just for fun, if we could adjust the hue and go blue. We could go green. We're not going to do that. We're going to leave it the way it is because it's fantastic. We could lean into a little bit of pink. If we go to green, we pull out the yellows. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. The shadows down a bit. Nah, I'm gonna leave where it is. Let's dehaze a little more, maybe. Yeah, give us a little bit in that. Okay, cool. So that's done. That looks great. I'm gonna bring the blacks down a tiny bit because I always like that kind of higher contrast look right at the end. And that's pretty much what this photo looks like. Um, and if we go and compare it to the original, that's the difference. So it's still, still the same thing, but now we've pulled out a lot of the things that were just hinted at before. And I really like that. I like that look a lot. Sorry, just checking a couple things. Interesting. Cool, cool, cool. All right, so that's one. That's another photo. That looks good. All right, let's work on somebody else. Let's see. I'm trying to think who I haven't worked on here. Uh, oh, here was another one. Another photo I did that had a rainbow in it. In this case, I just kind of yeah, I still had the mask. I didn't even really need to do much with the pulling the rainbow out because it really just in the like if we look at the original and this one it was definitely there. It was more just me cleaning it up. Uh, Mostly because this rainbow was just the kind of the two colors, so I could just pull them up and didn't have to worry about, like if I'm pulling up the blues and the aquas wasn't changing much of any of the rest of the photo because her coloring is more. We got the greens, we got the reds and the greens and the oranges and the tans. Let's see. If I edited one of these, there's one of these that I really liked. I did edit this one. That looks pretty good. What did I do to this one? Did I do anything to it? Or did I just crop it? Okay, I put a mask on it. Okay. So I put a linear mask. Okay, let's play with this one a little more. Let's see, because I upped the texture, and that's it. All I did was up the texture of this one. Okay. So step one. Honestly, this photo seems like it's kind of screaming black and white to me. Um, but since I don't want to do it all the way. This one, because we already have, I've got a let me see this mask. This mask goes that direction. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate it. So we got our duplicate. I'm going to invert it, so now it's going the opposite direction. So I turn off the top one, and I turn off the bottom one. Doesn't really do much because all I did was take the texture down. I probably do more with the first mask. But let's work on the second mask first. Let's bring the texture back up, And let's bring the saturation down. That ends up not doing what I want it to do. That ends up making her look dead. That is less fun. We overall are not fans of dead models, as far as I know. Babe, are we fans of dead models? That's a more magnanimous answer than I would have given. Apparently, it depends on our vision. In this case, our vision is not having her be dead, so we're not gonna have her be dead. Now, I could desaturate the top and have the light have it come in that way. I don't think I'm gonna do that. I might lean into some blacks, darken that up. Yeah, let's do it that way. Let's darken that up. Cool. Honestly, this photo. I said I want to do some more to this photo, but honestly, there's not a whole lot to do. I like it. Excuse me. I did crop it a bit, just kind of get the hand centered. Could crop it down a little bit more. But honestly, I like having that stone in the foreground. I really do. Let's keep it like that. Let's crop it a little more. Give it a little more of a framing that, or a crop that Instagram will like. All right, now we're gonna bring up some highlights. No, we're not. Take that back. We're gonna bring down some blacks. What do I want to do? I don't even know what I want to do. This photo is actually pretty good by it as is. Texture's up, clarity's up, dehaze. Dehazing a little bit actually does pull out some color that I like. I am a huge fan of high contrast and bold colors, so you kind of end up with that. Let's go to the luminance. We're gonna bring up the magentas maybe, reds. There we go. That looks pretty good. I'm curious if I tell this thing to select subject, what it's gonna give me. Is it gonna get all of her, or is it just gonna get the hand? Because the hand is in focus. Interesting. It's a weird mix. Okay. Well, here's what we're gonna do. That's fine. We're going to subtract with a brush. We're gonna get rid of everything here. Luckily, this actually works out really well because we have this little bit where her elbow leaves the frame. I've got a very, very clear line that I can use to edit like that. Now I can bring the highlights down on her hand a little bit. Not that much. Still want that texture. Okay, also alright, so let's hit done on the brushes. I want the whole photo to lean a little more into gold. Yeah. That blue is making her look dead, which we don't like, so we're gonna lean into that. And now by uh, brightening that up, we've brightened up the hand a bit much. We're gonna put the whites back where they were. There we go. That's better. Cool. So again, comparing original to finished, didn't change much, but changed enough to give us something to look at. All right, let's find another one to work on. Also, talk about the difference between what you can pull out in raw versus original. Here's the original, a little overexposed, a decent amount overexposed, but not enough, not so much that I can't pull back. Oop, we're zooming in way too much. Let's bring this to 50. It's better. So we can still pull it back. We still have detail. We still have those overexposed pops, but in a way that looks sun-kissed. But here's the thing: this photo uh, is effectively the same original. I made a copy of the second one, and because we shot raw, we can still pull out a lot more. We can pull out different colors. So I may be preaching to the choir on this. I may be telling if anyone watching is more a professional photographer versus an amateur, just someone who's interested. Also, no shade to amateurs, by the way. Um, I may be telling you things you already know, and if I'm doing that, I apologize. I like this photo a lot. It gives her superhero vibes. I want to soften the mask here. I know I took the texture way down. Yeah, I want to bring that texture back. I like having the clarity all the way up because it makes her stand out, but I also don't want to. I want to have her have some kind of connection to the background there. Even though, let's look at the original. The original is definitely going to be, yeah, the original definitely had a very strong focused delineation between background and her, just the distance between. I don't even remember where exactly at Maymont this was taken. I don't remember what this background is. All right. Yeah, pull the blacks down. And a lot of time I've noticed that when I start, doing a whole lot of masks, the actual adjustments I make on the photo itself, I mean, I've done a little bit with the color. For the most part, the actual adjustments I've made on the whole thing are a lot smaller. It's mostly just small bits. All right. I've done a lot with her. Let's work on somebody else. There's a lot of good stuff with a lot of good models. I like this photo. Just her husband was he's at a shot. He was helping her pose, and he left his camera there, and I could not resist getting a nice foreground shot of that. This is when I adjusted her eyes a little bit, made them a little more blue to match the background there. Let's see. Okay, let me. I liked this one. I liked working with shadows here. I can actually lean into this a little more. What kind of masking work did I do here? Decent amount, but I didn't do. Okay, we're gonna play with some masks here. Do a linear, come across like this. I'm gonna use, because her eyes line up with the road, and because classic film noir is that strike a light across the eyes, we're gonna lean in. Bring down the blacks here. Not enough that we lose texture, or that we lose definition, but enough that you notice. Let's bring down the shadows a little bit. There we go. Cool. And then we're going to duplicate the linear gradient. Bring it up right above the road, above her eyes. We flip it around. Actually, let's make this its own thing. Let's delete that. Let's duplicate mask 6. There we go. Now I move mask 6. I can flip it around. It's a much stronger effect. Not entirely sure why, but it is. Bring that down. Adjust it. I'm gonna soften this one a little more so we get a little more of her eyes. Bring the blacks down a little more. There we go. That gives us a bit more of a pop in her eyes. This mask here is the mask on her eyes, where we get getting those lights popping in. I've already brought those up a good bit. Let's bring up the. Nah, I want to leave the clarity where it is. Bring up the exposure a little more. Yeah, too much. Did I not do the individual spot? I did her eyes in general, but I didn't do the individual spots. Let's do the individual spots. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Cancel that. You're still selecting a subject. Okay. All right. New mask. Brush. I'm being handed a crisp. A cheese crisp. All right. Here we go. Welcome to my taste testing stream. Hmm? It's like a salty Cheez-It. All right. Viewers, I don't hate it, but I don't want another one. I do want more lemonade, though. All right. So are we? New brush. Zoom in our 300%. And just get these tiny little pops of light in her eyes. Come on over. Get that one. Even that spot's too big. Let's bring this down. Better. Gross. Probably okay. So now we're going to bring up the highlights. Bring up the whites. Bring up the exposure. What's going to happen? It's going to get... Yeah, not bad. Okay. Again, tiny pops of light, but they do a lot to that. And this also gives us some nice... that road behind us gives us some nice leading lines to her eyes. I like it. Cool. All right, let's find a raw photo that I haven't worked on yet, because I've been working on a lot of these. Let's see. Already worked on that one with Kari there. That's Jen again. This one ended up looking pretty cool. Our man Nick. Already worked on that one. Brought some nice color out of the dress. Got some cool purple going on in the background. I guess I could shift that and get rid of it and pull the dress out more. That actually looks better. Let's lean into that. Push to green, that's too much. I push to purple, that's also too much. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to come down here. All right, so adjusting the orange kind of brings up a uniform brightness. Adjusting the yellow brings up a more specific brightness. And I think I prefer that. I like those shadows. Lean in some color there. I don't think so. Same deal here. Don't really want to. A little blue to lean into. If I bring the purples down, now I want to keep that dress looking good. Bring the reds up a little bit. I'm going to push red a little bit toward purple to sort of make it. The red's affecting her lips more than anything else. If I do that, I'm going to make her lips match her dress, which is nice. Cool. Happy with that. Happy with that kind of interesting shadow falling across her face. I know a lot of people wouldn't be a fan, but I'm a fan of that. Did I do anything to her eyes in this one? I don't know if I did or not. Let's take a look. Probably. You okay over there? Yeah, all right. Yep. Water goes in the fridge. Need to do a little bit of work on this mask. We're going to subtract with a brush. I'm just going to subtract the area around it. Try to get that. Yeah, that's not actually working. We're going to leave that alone. Zoom all the way out. Yeah, we're fine. All right, done. I'm supposed to be trying to find new photos. I'm not doing a good job of it. Yeah, because I've tweaked through this. Okay. This one's interesting. This one's, oh, the histogram on this is very off. I don't even use it. Come on, give me something new to work on. I've already worked on this one with Kari, which I think looks pretty awesome in terms of color and lighting wise. Worked on this one, which is, yeah, that's the right version of that. All right, I'm just gonna tap through these and see which one catches my attention. That one's pretty good. Did some work on that one. It's okay. She looks good. The rocks behind her are giving me anxiety. Let's brighten them up a little bit. Background. There we go. There's such an extreme line between her and the background. I don't like it. That's better. I like that. It's probably the same thing I kind of just had, but whatever. Yeah, let's work on this one. There's a good shadow on her face, just good light in her eyes. Let's play with this. All right, so let's get the whole, let's crop a bit. Get it more just her. Start with just it being just her, and then expand to. Could go all the way that way. Yeah, I kind of like that. It kind of gives her some space to look at stuff. Let's put that right there. We'll start with that. It's a weird position. I might adjust more. Gonna adjust more. Up a little bit. Okay, I like that. That's pleasing to me for as a starting idea. Again, I've gone back and done and crop has been the thing I edit the most. All right, step one, select subject. I honestly kind of been starting with the select subject, just so I have a mask of her and a mask of the background just to start with. Cool, good job. Let's go to subject one, invert, good. It's done, create new mask, select subject, excuse me. Okay, yeah, I was on the 50 mil for this. No, I was on the 105. There we go. Cool. Okay, so that's not important right now. We're gonna leave those masks alone. Just the fact that we have them is good. All right. The blacks down a bit. See, here's what I'm talking about where if you know, the overexposure thing. Right now, if I bring down the whites and I bring down the highlights, I'm getting all this definition back. So I didn't. So this is not. It looks overexposed, but it's overexposed within a usable reason. And I will keep recropping forever. Start with that. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a very mask heavy one. Okay, so we'll start with this. Now we're going to do what I just did. We're going to bring the highlights down and the shadows down a bit. Get some more darkness in there with her. Get some darkness in and around that shadow on her face. Let's put this back. Keep the texture. We'll adjust the texture as we go. And the thing with doing shots with shadows like this is one of the reasons you tend to not see it is because you have to make the decision of what do you want to be the correctly exposed part, and what do you want to be dark or light. Yeah, do you want it overexposed where it's like this, and then you sort of bring the blacks down so that this part of her face is correctly exposed and everything else is overdone, or do you go the opposite direction, bring the whites down, and then have the try to get those shadows to be dark so that wow, that's just way too yeah, so that, like this part of her face is correctly exposed and the shadow is not. I think I'm gonna go the other direction. I think I'm gonna go back to what I had. The clarity back with bring the blacks down a bit. Maybe the blacks are the shadows. Hmm. Might be a photo I just zoom all the way into. Okay. We're gonna go that. We're gonna go with like a Phantom of the Opera kind of look on her. And in this photo, it's gonna be important to brighten up her eyes. We're gonna have to do her eyes differently, separately for each one. All right. So we're gonna finish this photo. I think I've only got a few minutes left on my timer. Yep. Yeah, another 10 minutes. We should be able to finish this photo in about that amount of time. Let's work on the background. Yeah, we're gonna take the texture down and the clarity up. Bring the blacks down. Give it a nice dark edge. Yeah, I don't like it as is. I kind of like leaning to the purple a little bit. Gives it an interesting look. Honestly, leaning to the purple and a little blue. Makes her stand out in a good way. Cool. Looks pretty good. Give it some highlights. Keeps it from being too distinctly different from the background, or from the foreground. Heading out. Alright. Please hold. Have a good rehearsal. Okay. Love you too. Alright. So that looks... Yeah, I kind of like that background. Might dehaze it a little bit, give a little more of a darkness to it, a little more contrast, and bring the colors up a little more. All right, so now we're gonna go back to working on stuff with her, and I think that's actually gonna be we're actually gonna start adding new masks. So this is all gonna be brushes. All right, first brush is the shadowy part of her face. Cool. All right, step one, texture down. Not that much. Zoom in a bit, take a look. It's actually looking pretty good. Yeah, I think I want to lean a little more into the yellows as opposed to the blues, because if I lean toward yellow or toward purple, it kind of ends up looking bruised. If I go to green, it looks like it's a healing bruise, so we're going to go with that. That's not bad. Cool. Did I miss a spot on that brush? Let's take a look at that again. Overlay. Yeah, maybe a little bit. Let's come a little lower with it. Let's see the regular overlay. Yeah, it really is giving me Phantom of the Opera vibes, which I think is good. Okay. I think I need to dehaze that a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. That's brightening it up. The contrast back a bit. Again, a thing I can do shooting raw. If I wanted to totally remove that shadow, I could. If I bring that up, I bring the whites up a little more, find a spot where that totally matches, work on the delineation between where the brush hits. Yeah, no, I could pretty much remove that shadow. I don't want to. I like having it as an element of the photo. Bit of a mask. Yeah, that looks pretty good for now. All right, let's work on some eyes. This I'm gonna have to do two different ones. So create new mask, the brush. Just gonna click. All right, bring up the highlights, bring up the whites. Cool. Bring up the exposure a bit just to see what happens. Bring up the saturation. Let them go blue. Lean into the blue, lean into the gold. Actually, leaning into the gold looks really cool. That's awesome. Okay, so now we're going to do a duplicate of that. Going to move it over to here. This eye was already brighter, so now, see the overlay on this, make sure I got it in the right spot. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah, this one's already brighter, so this one we're going to put the whites back. Let's put the highlights back even. There we go. Back to the first one. Get the clarity up. Done. Good. Really light, brightens your eyes up. Okay. Next thing to do. I want to look at this overexposed section down here. Let's go. I haven't. Let's do a. We're gonna do another brush. Probably our last one. Brush. And we're gonna work on all of the exposed skin down here. Actually, we're gonna work on kind of all of it as a unit. Everything up to her jawline. Let's get her arm. Let's get her shoulder. Get all of her cool tattoos. There. Good. Get down here around her dress. Little corner of her elbow. Cool. There we go. All right, so let's adjust this. I want to bring the highlights up. Let's see, I get it down so it's not? See, that's here's the thing about overexposure. If I bring it down, okay, I'm getting some more detail there. But if I bring the whites down, I'm just going from I'm going from white to gray. I'm not adding more detail. If I bring the highlights down, I'm adding more detail, but I'm adding it in a weirdly textured way. So we're gonna take the texture down. Starting to look pretty good. Trying to make that, yeah, trying to do a photo where the shadow feels like it's part of it. And the contrast, let's keep the contrast where it is. Bring the blacks down and then take the contrast down a bit. There we go. Keep the skin tones more or less the same. Good. Looks pretty good. We got a little more, just a little bit some overexposure on the chest and the hand, but the rest of it looks pretty good. It matches there. A little more into the. Actually, we'll leave that alone. We're gonna get it done. Where's my? And then I go back to this mask I did of her, and we're gonna lean a little more into. Oh, nope, wrong one. Undo. Mask of her, which we haven't really done much with yet. Now we can lean a little more into as an overall color palette. There we go. It's a bit much. Bring that down to like that. Good. Let's see. Anything else I want to do here? We can play with some color saturations. A little bit of red's not bad. There's some luminance, but that's not really doing us much good. Actually, brightening that up a little bit, I like. Makes the shadow feel a little more part of it. Okay, yeah. I think I'm happy with that. Not bad at all. Let's take a quick check at the time. 2 minutes left. Okay. So I think, let's set the rating on that one to 1. This is Eden, by the way. This one we leaned into the purple. This one we kind of leaned into some unreality with, just because her hair is this fantastic blue and purple, and I wanted to lean into that and kind of let them all kind of draw to each other. This is, yeah, that photo ends up looking really good. Um, yeah, so that is, yeah, I think the next thing to work on would probably be one of these photos here, because I think the last kind of things I want to do with these is I want to do a kind of comparison between, or kind of connection between her fantastic hair and these red bushes behind her. Um, so yeah, it's probably gonna be this one. Yeah, okay. All right. Cool. So we're gonna go ahead and finish up. Real quick, I want to say hi to Evelyn for watching. Uh, very happy that you joined us. Can't wait to hear about all the cool stuff you did today, and also to Stephanie for just being there and being awesome. All right. Yeah, I think we're gonna call it a day on this. I'm gonna come back and do some more of these eventually because I need to try to get this whole series finished. I'm like 2 weeks behind on editing these. But you know how it goes. Um, 'Cause I'm behind because I've been on shoots. Anyway, I'm gonna come back to just me for 1 sec. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of this. Whatever audience we had. It's been a joy. It's always fun to do this. I may come back on later tonight. If not, I'll probably be on tomorrow to try to really get a handle on finishing up this series. Yeah, and then we'll talk about where we're going next. The next I think this is kind of one of my last batches of photos to edit, but I've now got 3 short films to finish up working on. So that's we're gonna be in Premiere, spend some time in After Effects actually, and be doing some visual effects for one of the movies. So that's also fun. So yeah, that's where we're at. Thank you as always for joining. Go out, make good art, create cool stuff. Um, yeah, and find the things in your story, in your photos, and in your stories that that really connect with you. because otherwise we're just adjusting sliders and not making a difference. There's my alarm. So thank you. Have a great day. Stay safe. Make cool stuff. And yeah, catch you next time.